Okay, everybody, we're going to get started. Welcome. Excuse me, went down wrong pipe and just took a drink. We're going to get started. Today is Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021. I want to welcome everyone to our Scranton City Council caucus. I hope everybody's doing well and you're all shoveled out. Unfortunately, Punxsutawney Phil saw his, did he see a shadow? I think, yeah, 6 more weeks of winter. So unfortunately, but DPW's doing the best they can and doing a pretty good job, and we'll get through it. All right, so I just want to start off. We'll go through the agenda. So there's quite a few pieces, new pieces in 5th order. So, and there's quite a few pieces in 3rd order. So does anybody have anything they want to talk about in terms of the agenda items? We'll start there. Any questions, comments, concerns you want to talk about in the caucus? No? Okay. I have a couple things on the agenda. So the first one is 7F. So 7F, I had questions about that last week, and it's that contract that OECD is going to enter into with Barry Isett. And I think you all received the responses from Eileen Cipriani, which I appreciate. And Eileen has been great in getting back to me and all of us almost immediately. And then I was going back and forth with her a little bit today with some additional questions. I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind tabling this for an additional week. I actually have additional questions now for Eileen. I'm just going to call her some point this week. I don't know if it's just me being confused or there's something I'm missing here, but addendum 2 within the legislation, question number 4, if you look at that, that's, I think, where I'm confused, because Eileen is saying that this is we're hiring a project manager and an engineer for engineering services. But if you look at addendum number 2, question number 4, it says, is the pricing requested for the RFP for overseeing the projects or full design survey through construction phase services? And it says it's the RFP specifically for oversight of the projects. The OECD project engineer will be tasked with prioritizing the listed projects as well as determining what architectural design services are necessary for the projects. So I'm just confused as to what are we getting here? My question to OECD was, will we have to bid out for engineering services? The way I'm reading it, we will. The one thing, and if the price is correct, that's great. But like one example, Barry Isett is saying that they're going to provide not only project oversight of the paving project, which is like $800,000, but also construction documents and engineering services. The way that I'm reading it, for only $7,000. We voted on an agreement with. I can't remember the company off the top of my head, for the DPW paving project a few months ago for engineering, and it was like $50,000. So I just want to make sure I fully understand this, because I'm still kind of confused on a few things. So if everyone is okay with tabling this for a week, and I can get in touch with Eileen and clear some things up.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
No problem here.
Okay. Let's see, on the agenda, Kevin, I had a question about, not necessarily about the piece of legislation, but just about the process with the HARB 5F. So I remember when we passed this ordinance back in, I don't know if it was a year or two ago, probably almost 2 years now. And I think part of it was if council received a denial of a certificate of appropriateness, that I don't know if we'd have to hold a public hearing or we'd have to notify the person who was applying for the going before HARB. But can you just research from between now and next week what that process is? And I just want to make sure we're checking off all the boxes there.
and I'll work with Lori on this. We had reviewed this previously, and I think, we would need what the proposed legislation would be from the city as far as what they want to do, and yeah, but I'll circulate a memo on the process. I know I researched that earlier this year.
Okay, awesome.
With that one, Bill, I did go looking back at some of the hardboard minutes, but we don't have the minutes for that particular meeting that was denied, do we?
I don't think so. Lori, do we? I know we do get the minutes from the hard meeting, but I don't remember seeing that on there.
We do receive the minutes, but it seems as though we receive them like it's a month behind, because the minutes are prepared and then they're approved at the following month's meeting, and then they're provided to us. So perhaps we didn't receive those minutes yet because they haven't been approved. The minutes haven't been approved.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it might be helpful to get those minutes before we move ahead with it. I mean, looking at the documentation, it looks like they're, a little bit different than what was there in the past. So I could assume that was the reasoning why they denied.
Okay. Yep. We could look that up. The other item I wanted to bring to your attention is 3B, the correspondence received from DEP regarding the Meadowbrook flood protection project. I had a email exchange with Joe O'Brien, the city solicitor, and we should be receiving legislation regarding the Meadowbrook Creek project. So the sponsorship agreement, and there was one other item that we're going to receive. So probably within the next few weeks on that.
Yeah, I think that might have been an item that I had some questions about. Is this going to be the final step in this? It's not going to be the final step in the solution to that neighborhood there? I mean, there's a lot of things that need to occur, but is this going to be the start of fixing those problems?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I mean, the ultimate fix is still, 4 or 5 years away, totally. But this is the first step in terms of, moving along in that process.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, it was passed by council in 1991 to start looking at this.
So yeah, I mean, this is the third phase of it too. So it goes from, the river to up by, the School of the Deaf there and the cemetery in Dunmore. But the first two phases were done, but this would be the last phase of that.
Okay. And all the neighbors are aware of the right of way, all of that. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody in that whole creek corridor.
No, they can't. They have to notify them if they're, going to be near their property or on their property.
Okay.
Okay.
Kevin, on that subject, were you ever able to set up a meeting with Joe O'Brien on that?
Oh, sorry, Kevin, you're muted.
I sent a couple emails to Joe O'Brien and Joe Price on that issue, just asking for an update. I did not hear back. I will send another email right now on that.
All right. Thank you.
Bill, on this letter, they said that they attached all of these documents, but I didn't see them there. The sponsorship agreement, the right-of-way acquisition drawings. They said that they were enclosed, but they weren't attached to the one I had. Did we actually get those?
I think so. Yeah, Lori, we got those, right? I think it was in a PDF, but I had trouble opening it, so I'm not sure what.
Correct. Yeah, correct. It was received, just great difficulty with opening the file. And I think others that were circulated on that email had commented the same.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that information is in an email, because that was one of the other questions I had, where it seemed like those right-of-way drawings or schematics were included, but I couldn't find them in the Granicus file.
Yeah, I was on copy to that email, but like Lori said, the backup documentation, it was just, for some reason, we couldn't open the PDF. But the hard copy, I know that the law department and Don King have, I believe. Okay, so we will be voting on that within the next few weeks, according to Joe O'Brien. The ethics board appointment. So we only got one letter of interest and resume, and that was from Dave Falchuk. So, I mean, I would like to appoint him to the ethics board. So if everyone is okay with that, we can start that process in terms of drafting the legislation. There's one seat that's open. Okay. I don't really have, I have a couple other things that I'll say for the meeting, but in terms of the agenda, I don't have anything else. Kevin, do you have anything on the legal end of things?
Nothing new to report, at least publicly.
Okay, and Lori, thank you.
No, I don't have anything. Thank you. Just the proclamation is ready for Mark, and that can be read after after roll call.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lori. All right, anyone have anything for the good of the order? Start with Kyle. Do you have anything?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
No, nothing here. Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you. Jess, you have anything?
No, I'm good as well. Thank you.
Okay. And Mark, do you have anything?
Okay.
Okay, very good. I guess I'll just run through some. I'm going to ask tonight, just to give everybody heads up, for an update on the recycling. We got communications from the administration about the RFP for recycling, where we deliver our recyclables in the city. And we got a memo on that, which we all received. That had to be maybe a month or two ago. And then we haven't received anything else. So we asked for an update on that. Also for an update on the delinquent refuse collector. We did send our comments and everything else to the administration, and it's been a little bit since we've heard on that. And I know we need someone to collect the delinquent refuse accounts in the city. So those are two things I'll be asking for an update on. The other thing, you know, I've asked this a couple times now about the naming a permanent police chief. So maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I had mentioned, and when the mayor was here, I brought it up as well, that we have an acting police chief that was appointed in September. I had asked Kevin to just look at what the administrative code says about acting department directors. And according to what Kevin had sent me, the mayor can appoint an acting department director for a period not to exceed 35 days. So there's requirements that are baked in there. And we haven't heard anything about what the mayor's plan is and the administration's plan is in terms of sending us legislation of appointing a police chief. And I think acting Chief Nemeka is doing a good job, but I just don't want to flout the administrative code. So I'm going to ask for an update on that. And I don't know what the repercussions are of, it's been past 35 days and that was back in September. So I think we need an update on that.
Yeah,
Kevin,
they use it. Go ahead, Mark.
Maybe it's me, but I think their defense might be they're using the word interim instead of act. Is that of any relevance or no?
That is not. Yeah, I think you're right there. That is not a classification in the administrative code. I think
it's being used for a reason.
Right. You're either the director or you're the acting director. So yeah, there is the term interim is not defined anywhere in the city code. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing here.
Yeah, we should find out, and the reason I keep bringing that up is because I don't want to set a precedent here. The administrative code is very clear on the issue, and again, I think Mark, you're probably right, and the term interim, I don't know, but we'll have to find that out. So,
and no acting director can be reappointed to that classification for 6 months, for a 6-month period of time after the
Okay.
acting term expires, so.
Yeah, so, I
Do
mean,
you want me to reach out to the, do you want me to write to the law department on this?
yeah, that'd be good. That's a good idea. Thanks, Kevin. Okay. That's all I have.
Just for a heads up too, two of the things I was going to bring up was one, Lori, we sent out a letter to Lips or a request from Lips about 2208 Prospect Avenue a few weeks ago. And I don't think we ever got a response, correct?
I don't believe so. I'd have to go back and check,
So-
but just to clarify, it's 2208 Prospect.
Yes.
Prospect.
Yes.
Okay. I'll reach
Okay.
out again.
So I'll be mentioning that at the meeting. And then also too, we still don't have a zoning officer, so just ask, request from the administration an update on where we are there. I know Don King has been pulling double duty now for about 18 months, I think. So just a heads up on that.
Lori, also in that vein, I sent that email the other day about 1316 and 1318 Einan Street. Was there any response to that one?
Yes. No, there was not. I'll resend that again, Tom.
All right, thank you. One more before we go. We were looking into the entertainment fee for our bars and restaurants. Has anything come of that?
We did not get any, as far as I know, we have not received anything from the administration or the mayor. The last time that I had spoke to the mayor about it, and we talked about it at the meeting, they were going to send us legislation. I don't know if they were going to do it on a prorated scale, or they were just going to waive the fee entirely. I would be open to either of those, depending on, when the pandemic is over, hopefully, and people can get back to, business owners and bar owners can get back to, having indoor events and entertainment. But Lori, maybe you can, if you can ask or ask for an update on that.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we have a little bit of time left. We'll take a recess here and we will start our regular meeting at 6:30. Thanks, everyone. I'd like to call this public meeting, Scranton City Council, Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 to order. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world, and also for those who have passed away in our community, especially our solicitor, Kevin Hayes' aunt, Ann Corbett, who tragically passed away this past weekend. Ann was a resident of Manuka, a veteran of the United States Air Force Nurse Corps, who served her country honorably in Vietnam. She had a 45-year career in nursing. She was a friend to all who knew her, and she will be deeply missed. Let us also take a moment of silence for all of the people in our community, our country, and world who have passed away from the coronavirus. This pandemic has turned our world upside down, but we must remain hopeful and strong. We continue to pray for the doctors, nurses, researchers, and all medical professionals who seek to heal and help those affected and who put themselves at risk in the process. May they have protection and peace. Whether we are home or abroad, surrounded by many people suffering from this illness or only a few, let us stick together, endure together, mourn together, and in place of our anxiety, let us have hope and peace. Thank you. Roll call, please, Ms. Carrera.
Mr. Schuster,
Present?
Mr. McAndrew,
Present.
Dr. Rothchild,
Here?
Mr. Donahue,
Here,
Mr. Gaughan.
Here, thank you. I'd now like to ask Councilman McAndrew to read a proclamation into the record. Councilman McAndrew?
Sure, thank you. It is with great pleasure that I read this proclamation celebrating National School Counseling Week. I know firsthand at the Career Technology Center where I teach that we have two exceptional school counselors, Mrs. Ann Jordan and Miss Nicole Gaetano. They've been a godsend this year helping us teachers connect with students because of the various models of instructional delivery we had to do during this global pandemic. This proclamation is not just for them, but a shout out to all the school counselors in our area that do a fantastic job for our kids every day. So whereas the Council of the City of Scranton is desirous of acknowledging National School Counselors as the nation celebrates National School Counseling Week, February 1st through the 5th, 2021. And whereas school counselors are vital members of the educational team and maximize student success, and whereas school counselors help all students apply academic achievement strategies, manage emotions, and apply interpersonal skills, plan post-secondary options such as higher education, military, workforce. And whereas school counselors are certified licensed educators who improve student success for all students by implementing a comprehensive school counseling program. And whereas school counselors provide valuable individual or small group support, counseling, and psychological assessments for students with special needs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, Scranton City Council wishes to recognize school counselors for their dedication and commitment to the advancement and well-being of all students from kindergarten through grade 12. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be made a permanent part of the record of this council as lasting tribute to National School Counseling Week 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McAndrew. Please dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Thank you. Third order, 3A, agenda for the zoning hearing board public hearing to be held on Wednesday, February 3, 2021. 3B, correspondence received from Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection dated January 12, 2021 regarding Meadowbrook Flood Protection Project. 3C, correspondence received from Pennsylvania American Water dated January 21, 2021 regarding Poplar Street Public Railroad Crossing. 3D, breakdown of law department bills, professional services account. 3E, correspondence received from residents of 3rd Avenue dated January 12, 2021 regarding truck traffic. 3F, fuel card analysis received from Office of the City Controller for the period November 24 through December 23, 2020.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. Are there any comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have a few. First, I wanted to, mention that it is Black History Month, and so there's a lot of celebrations going on, and it's a great time to just become more educated and learn more about Black history. And one of our local organizations, the Black Scranton Project, is going to be hosting a flag raising ceremony this Saturday. It's going to be outside on the steps of City Hall. It's going to be the Pan-African flag that they're raising, and that's going to take place at 12 o'clock. So if anyone's interested in going to that, social distancing and masks will be a definite there. And they also have other events going on online and virtual events for the course of Black History Month. So if you check out their Facebook page or their website for the Black Scranton Project, you'll find some of those if you're interested in any of them. And then the other event that's coming up this weekend that I want to mention is the Scranton Ice Festival. And I brought that up. It was probably like a week or two ago when they had announced it. And that's going to take place from February 5th through the 7th. So that's Friday through Sunday. And there's going to be ice sculptures throughout downtown. And I think it'll just be a good chance for people to be outside and walk through downtown and, maybe go to some of the businesses in downtown while they're out there. So those two things coming up that I want to make sure the public was aware of.
Thank you.
I
Anyone
just
else?
have one, just because of the snowstorm, garbage will be a day behind this week for the remainder of the week.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, Mrs. Reed, citizens participation.
Thank you. Fourth order, citizens participation.
At this time, would someone please make a motion to accept public comment from the following individuals: Brian Grassi, Faye Franis, and Norma Jeffries.
Make a motion to accept public comment.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to accept public comment. Mrs. Reed, would you please read the comments into the record?
Thank you. The first submission is from Brian Grassi as follows. I have emailed City Council and they have not received any response. Can you please get answers on following concerns? Number one, New Jersey Central Building. Who owns it and are taxes current? City, few years ago, gave, I believe, $25,000 for roof and building was to be developed. Roof went on and nothing ever developed. Building is historical and can be put to a lot of good use. It can be used as grocery store and apartments. This building is the gateway into downtown Scranton, needs to be developed. Number two, building in the 500 block of Lackawanna Avenue next to Bona Pizza. They, I believe, were given money for sidewalks and was supposed to develop building. It has never been developed, even though they received sidewalks. Who owns it and are taxes up to date? Number three, Vine Street Station. A few years ago, the building was damaged and gas station closed. Has the gas been removed from tanks and are tanks still in ground? Who owns it and are taxes being paid? Number four, gas station next to Chick's Diner. Been closed for years. Is there gas in ground there? Are tanks in ground? Who owns it and are taxes being paid? Number five, house on the corner of Pine Street and Wheeler Avenue. House was on fire a few years ago. Who owns house and are taxes being paid? House needs to be fixed or taken down. Number six, house on the corner of Wheeler and Olive Street. House has been vacant for years. House is boarded up and is beginning to deteriorate. You can see chimney needs repair and roof needs repair. Who owns house and are taxes up to date? Please make these part of City Council minutes and email me responses. The second submission is from Faye Franis as follows. Council, in 1995, while many of you were young teens, I was 51 years old and I fought hard to get an ordinance law passed banning trucks over 10 ton in all of Bellevue because it is a mine cave area. Subsequent to the passing of this ordinance, every street coming into Bellevue was posted trucks over 10 ton gross weight prohibited. You have seen the photos of the sign. On the South Elm Street entrance to Bellevue, the sign going over the bridge was changed from 10 ton to allow 18 ton weight. I have asked numerous times via council, via the police chief. No one can tell me who authorized that sign to be changed to allow DeNaples trucks to carry more weight than allowed by law. I am 76 now, and to this day, 25 years later, maybe 3 trucks were stopped. Essentially no action by the city. Mayor Cognetti has the maps of Bellevue, the petitions, and the ordinance from 1995. Bill Gaughan met me at my home with my neighbors to address this issue. I want to refresh your memory, please. My garage caved in. The Department of Mining had to fill it in with concrete. The house that was behind me on Fifth Avenue was gone, caved in, now just grass. The house 2 doors down from me, the front sidewalk caved in. Also 5 doors down, their kitchen caved in. Please listen closely to what I am about to say. There is a business run by Louis DeNaples on South Elm Street. At this time of year, it is primarily salt to treat roads that is being delivered to customers with 3-axle trucks, probably weighing 20 ton, 11 tons overweight. The South Elm Street Bridge entering Bellevue has been closed to trucks. Overweight trucks undoubtedly contributed to this restriction. This bridge may not be repaired for up to 4 years. So what do? These 3-axle trucks go over 3rd Avenue, over 100 trucks a day, causing the residents to be upset and make an appeal to the city for relief. The city using the argument to the resident of 3rd Avenue that there was no sign posted on 3rd Avenue prohibiting trucks over 10 ton. However, all streets taking you to 3rd Avenue entering Bellevue are posted, so there is no need to have a sign on 3rd Avenue because the trucks have already broken the law by taking the street that is posted coming into Bellevue. Thus, they would never be near 3rd Avenue if they obeyed the law. Not only are there 100 and more trucks going down 3rd Avenue, they are then turning right and going over the bridge on Broadway, which is posted trucks over 10 ton gross weight prohibited. Allowing overweight vehicles to use this bridge will shorten the life of the bridge. Remember this, we, the people of Bellevue, obey the laws. Every truck that goes down 3rd Avenue, South Elm Street, Broadway, and Railroad Avenue are breaking the law. Failure to enforce this law could increase the number of mine cave-ins and the residents' safety. Perhaps the solution would be for the city engineer to go to the back of Walmart on South Main Avenue in Taylor and look down to see how far DeNaples' business operation goes. It runs past Walmart towards Taylor. Why can't DeNaples build a road to the railroad tracks, then continue the road on the other side of the tracks to get out to South Main Avenue? That is his problem, not the people in Bellevue's problem. It is DeNaples' responsibility to obey the laws, especially if he is endangering the lives of the people of Bellevue and possibly burdening the taxpayers with unnecessary capital cost. This also goes for the tractor trailers going down Railroad Avenue. 3 cars were totaled in less than 2 years on my block alone, mine included. This street is way too narrow for cars, let alone trucks. Bellevue is a cave area, no trucks over 10 ton. Clark Summit got thousands of dollars from citations for overweight trucks on State Street. I do believe we are owed help in enforcing this law that was passed 25 years ago. I also believe we have a pretty clear-cut case for a lawsuit if this continues. The third and final submission is from Ms. Norma Jeffries as follows. First, to Councilman Gaughan, I count it such a pleasure to have gotten to know you since my return to Scranton. Your concern for the city was above and beyond. Each email or telephone call was addressed and was very much appreciated. I am sure our paths will cross again someplace along the way. Thank you, Councilman Gaughan, for a job well done. My concerns tonight are twofold. Number one, street signs. Over the past 3 years, the Scranton street signs have been a concern, not only for me, but also city residents. As I previously stated, returning to Scranton after 37 years resulted in getting lost trying to maneuver myself through Scranton. As a result, it was good to hear that KS Engineers was paid $270,000 to provide a database of the missing or poor condition of the street signs. Also, beginning in January 2020, $2,600 is being billed for the maintenance of the database. Since most of the City Hall employees were working at home during 2020, is the city still billed for that maintenance fee? I know that there is only 1.5 staff to oversee and work in this department. Therefore, is the database being of much use to the city? Is the database being reviewed, and are some of the neglected signs being replaced? At a recent town hall meeting, the mayor mentioned the condition of our street signs. So along with the painting of the crosswalks, can the replacement of old or damaged street signs be accomplished at the same time? Maybe it is different maybe it is a different department, but hopefully an update can be provided to let us know the status. With all the attention that our city is receiving since President Biden is our president, let's help him along by getting our street signs in a better condition for visitors coming to town. Number 2, walkability study. Can a report be given of the status of this study? With the pandemic, walking and getting fresh air is a priority. I began to wonder what happened to that study. I know that previously this study was a priority and everyone seemed so enthusiastic about how the city would benefit from this study. Can someone address these 2 projects for me and the citizens of Scranton? And that concludes the citizens' participation.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. On the question? On the question, we'll start with Mr. Grassie's questions. So we did submit, and Mr. Grassie did reach out to me previous to this, and I did submit his questions to the administration because I honestly don't know who owns that New Jersey Central building or that the building in the 500 block of Lackawanna Ave next to Buona Pizza, and there's other questions here. We did submit these again, and we will check back next week and we'll make sure that these questions are answered for him. The second thing, Ms. Francis's comments about 3rd Avenue, I did exchange a message with the mayor about the issues on 3rd Avenue, and we are scheduled or going to be scheduled to speak about that letter that's on our agenda tonight. So I'll keep everybody updated on that. And finally, Ms. Jeffries' questions about the street signs and the walkability study. With the street signs, council a few months ago voted to approve a grant application, I believe, for the replacement of all of the street signs in the city that are damaged or faded and need to be replaced. And I can't remember the exact amount of street signs, but it was a sizable amount. It was a significant amount. So we will double check on where the city is at with that grant. I'm not sure if it was awarded. We haven't been notified about that yet. The second thing Mrs. Jeffries mentioned in her comments was the about the maintenance fee for the database, the software that the city has now that tracks all of the signs that are replaced, which council passed a few years ago. As far as I know, in fact, I'm almost positive that the DPW staff, the DPW workers did not work from home. You know, they can't work from home just the nature of their position. And we did, the city did, I don't know if they hired the person yet, but they did put in an extra traffic sign person in the 2021 budget. So we'll double check in if that position has been filled yet.
I think there was 2 positions there, Bill, wasn't there?
I thought it was 1, but I could be wrong. We'll double check on that. But the database I know is reviewed. We can ask Director Preamble for an update on that. I just think it's made the city more efficient in regards to replacing street signs. And I think the administration is taking the right path here in the DPW in terms of applying for that grant to replace all the street signs that are damaged or faded. And there's a lot of them, especially up in the hill section. And I know that Mrs. Jeffries has been really kind of leading the charge here for the last few years in coming to council and making that a point. So, and I appreciate that. So we'll get an update from Mrs. Jeffries on that. And the second thing about the walkability study, we will ask for an update on that. I thought that was kind of put on the back burner from what I remember. And the reason that the mayor and OECD gave at that time was because of the pandemic. But we just can double check and refresh our memories on that. And also I want to thank Mrs. Jeffries for her kind words in the beginning of her comments. Hopefully we will cross paths again. This is the last place that any of us want to be, looking at a computer screen and not being in council chambers. And being on council for 7, almost 8 years now, we get to know the people who come regularly to the council meetings, and many of them are our friends because we see them every week. And I personally appreciate the fact that those concerned residents like Mrs. Jeffries show up almost weekly with their concerns. They pay attention to the agenda. They pay attention to what's going on in the city. And just as council is a check on the mayor and her administration, Mrs. Jeffries and others who come to the meetings are a check on the council, and that's a good thing. And they keep us on our toes, and they do a really wonderful job. So I want to thank her for that. And hopefully, I think we're all praying that we can get back in council chambers as quickly as possible and see each other in the flesh again. Anyone else on the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Fifth order, 5A, motion.
Councilman Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
While the Meadowbrook project is fresh on our minds, can we have Lori send correspondence over to the administration about when they're going to release the contractor to take a look at those 4 properties there along Wyoming Avenue? I know they have, it's been filled in with gravel and that, but I think there's some repaving and regrading that needs to be done to those properties.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Schuster. Councilman McAndrew, any motions or comments?
I do have some comments, or an update, I should say. I'm happy to report an update on the Hometown Heroes banner program initiative I brought forth a few months ago in council. Through collaboration with Todd Polsey from Neighborhood Works of Northeastern Pennsylvania and Leadership Lackawanna, which has decided to take this as on as one of their core projects for the year. So with regards to that, they accepted or approved this as a project that they will do a lot of the groundwork for us. They do a great job. They do fundraising. I know my daughter was involved with a project last year with a park. So they'll have 10 people dedicated to this, which will be great. We're starting to get this project off the ground. Todd Polsey will be the liaison between Leadership Lackawanna and then our committee. Our committee meaning to include myself, council, Chris Smith being our City Hall point person, Robert DeLuca, who's a West Scranton High School principal and a veteran, along with Jim Kuchwara and his team from the American Legion Post 25. I also see this committee expanding and this project expanding and being embraced by everybody in the city. So once we have some meetings are set up, of course, I'll provide updates. Also, Mary Ellen McDonough reached out to me from the Manukas section of town, and they're very interested over there. So there'll be another group that'll jump in on this. So it's just in the beginning stages. We're going to start having meetings. Like I said, I'll update everybody and I will see this project through. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman McAndrew. It's a great project, and thanks for taking the lead on it. Very good.
Sure.
Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
No motions or comments tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Donahue, any motions or comments?
The only thing I have tonight is something I brought up in caucus before, but Ms. Reed was going to send a request for an update on 2208 Prospect Avenue. There's been some complaints from neighbors, and I know it was sort of working through the process in licensing and inspections. We sent the request out a couple weeks ago. I haven't received anything back, so I know she resent that already, actually. And also, Ms. Reed, would we be able to get an update, or would you be able to request an update from the administration on where they're at in terms of hiring a zoning officer? I know Don King, the city planner, has sort of been doing double duty there for well over a year now. So just see where they're at there. I know that's an important position, and it becomes even more important as we move into spring. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Donahue. Just a few comments, and most of these I covered in the caucus, but I'm going to ask for the following updates. Number one, I would like an update from the mayor and administration on the conversion from the business privilege and mercantile tax to the payroll preparation tax. It's been a few weeks since we've heard any sort of update on that, and every day that goes by is a day that we're losing because this has to be done before the city exits Act 47. So I'd like to know what the plan is moving forward. You know, this is something that was approved by the voters of the city of Scranton overwhelmingly. The business privilege and mercantile tax is despised amongst the business community. It hurts our businesses. It's a very regressive tax. And it's clear, you know, where the people want the city to move. It's just taking much longer, I think, than anyone expected. So I'd like an update on that. Also, an update from the
Can I
mayor.
just jump in on that too also? I mean, the reason for the extension of Act 47 was to implement this. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there. One of the main reasons.
Also, I'd like to ask for an update on the recycling. We had received a memo, it was in third order, a few weeks ago about the recycling in the city. An RFP was issued, and I think both of the bidders were denied. So like an update on that. Also an update on the delinquent refuse RFP that was out. They chose Portnoy. We went back and forth with the administration on that and gave our thoughts and changes to the legislation, and we have not really heard anything on that yet. So I'd like an update on that. And also 2 weeks ago, I had submitted questions regarding an update on the Act 47 recommendations. So I'd like just to see where we are with that. Also in the caucus, I brought up the fact that we do have an acting police chief. The police chief was, we passed legislation in September to hire the Leonard Nemeka as the acting police chief, or interim police chief as they called it. So I'd like an update on when we're actually going to get legislation for a police chief that doesn't have that title, because there's issues, I think, with the administrative code, as Solicitor Hayes pointed out a few weeks ago. We also talked about the ethics board appointment. So council does have one appointment left, and we did receive one resume and letter of interest from Dave Falchuk. We did not receive any others, so we are going to draft legislation to appoint Mr. Falchuk, and that should be on the agenda within the next week or two. Also, just to end with some good news, there was an article today in the newspaper, and a study was done on realtor.com nationally, and Scranton received recognition as the third best place in the country to work remotely. And I thought that was some really good, positive news for the city. So I think it's something that, in spite of all the negative things that are going on and the difficult things with the pandemic, it's something I think the city can hang their hat on moving forward. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Excuse me. I should have brought this up when Director Donahue, Councilman Donahue, brought up the DPW garbage collection. Do we know if all of the new 2021 schedules have gone out to the residents?
I don't know.
I know I received mine, but I did get a few calls asking if the schedules went out, that some residents didn't receive them. So if that's something else, maybe we could look into, or have Lori look into.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Mrs. Reed.
Thank you. 5B, for introduction, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Scranton creating an ad hoc committee to explore the feasibility of renaming Wyoming Avenue or another prominent roadway in honor of United States President Joseph R. Biden Jr.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? On the question, as I mentioned last week, we're going to form this committee and look at what the process is for renaming a street in the city of Scranton. It's, doesn't come along often that you have a president of the United States who was born in your city. And I think that's something that we should all take a lot of pride in. And I think the vast majority of Scrantonians do take a lot of pride in that. The fact that we have someone who was born here and raised here for the first 10 years of his life, and who always came back here and never forgot the city of Scranton. And as I mentioned last week, the eyes of not only the country, but the whole entire world have been on Scranton because of Joe Biden. And it's been really tremendously positive for us. So whether you're a Democrat or Republican, independent, party affiliation doesn't matter here. It's about honoring the fact that this person made it all the way to the highest office in the land. And it's an extremely, extremely positive thing for the city. Anyone else on the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, a resolution authorizing appointment of Mary Jo Sheridan, 1213 Schlager Street, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18504, to serve as a member of the Board of Directors of the Lackawanna County Land Bank to a 5-year term, which commenced on December 31, 2020, and is scheduled to expire December 31, 2025.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution authorizing reappointment of Marion E. Gatto, 12 Frank Way, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18504, to serve as a member of the Board of Directors of the Lackawanna County Land Bank to a 5-year term, which commenced on December 31, 2020, and is scheduled to expire December 31, 2025.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
On
All
the
those
question,
in-
I'd just like to
Oh, I'm
say,
sorry.
I know Marion Gatto very well, and she brings, I'm glad that she's being brought back for another 5 years. She brings great value to this Land Bank Board of Directors and has vast real estate experience. So I wish her well.
Thank you. Anyone else on the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5E for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials for the city of Scranton to execute and enter into an agreement with Bott Studios, 1095 Main Street, Swoyersville, Pennsylvania, 18704, to restore the stained glass transom windows at the entrance of City Hall.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5E be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? The only question I have here is, Mrs. Reed, if you can just find out what line item the balance of the funds to pay for this project is coming from. It says from city general funds, but I'd just like to know the specific line item. And the city is using historic preservation funds in the amount of $15,479 to offset the cost. And it could be anywhere between $38,700 and $45,000. Anyone else on the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5F for introduction, a resolution accepting the recommendation of the Historical Architecture Review Board and denying the certificate of appropriateness for L.R. Costanzo Company Incorporated, 123 North Main Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18504, for the following upgrades to site lighting throughout the property at PNC Bank, 201 Penn Avenue, Scranton, PA, 18503.
This time I'll entertain a motion that item 5F be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? On the question, Solicitor Hayes is going to issue a memo to council just on the process moving forward with this piece. I believe that we have to give L.R. Costanzo Company the opportunity to attend the council meeting and whether it's to, give their opinion on it or object. There was something in the legislation that we passed a few years ago that gave the applicant recourse in the matter. So Solicitor Hayes is going to look at that, and we'll have something to report next week. Anyone else on the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5G for introduction of resolution accepting a donation provided to the city of Scranton for 2 thermal body temperature cameras to be donated by ICU Surveillance Service LLC.
This time I'll entertain a motion that item 5G be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Yeah, on the question, I'd like to thank ICU Surveillance Services for this very nice donation. These thermal body temperature cameras provide another line of defense and safety for our police department. So I think this is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, file of the council number 51, 2021. An ordinance amending file of the council number 78, 2019. An ordinance as amended entitled General City Operating Budget 2020 by transferring $13,591.25 from account number as noted non-departmental expenditures contingency to account number as noted to provide funding for payment of fire department expenses through the 2020 budget period.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, file of the council number 46, 2021, amending file of the council number 78, 2019, an ordinance as amended entitled General City Operating Budget 2020 by transferring $34,000 from account number as noted non-departmental expenditures to contingency to the account numbers listed below to provide sufficient funding for payment of financial obligations through the 2020 budget period.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As the chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend 7A for final passage.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Gaughan.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, file of the council number 47, 2021, amending file of the council number 78, 2019, an ordinance as amended entitled General City Operating Budget 2020 by transferring $4,280 from account number as noted, Department of License and Inspections, Bureau of Buildings, PAWC Water, to account number as noted, non-departmental, Street Cats and Dogs, to provide sufficient funding for payment of street cats and dogs spay and neuter invoices through the 2020 budget period.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of 7B.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Gaughan.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, file of the council number 48, 2021, amending file of the council number 6, 2020, as amended by file of the council number 59, 2019, entitled An ordinance amending file of the council number 17, 1994, entitled, an ordinance as amended, authorizing the governing body of the city of Scranton to enact a waste disposal and collection fee for the purpose of raising revenue to cover the waste disposal and collection costs incurred by the city of Scranton for the disposal of refuse by imposing a waste disposal and collection fee of $300 for calendar year 2020, and the same shall remain in full force and effect annually thereafter, to provide an extension of the deadline to pay 2020 refuse fees until March 31, 2021, due to the economic hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question? On the question, I'm going to be voting in favor of this. As everybody knows, the pandemic has had a really awful effect on people's finances. People lost their jobs, couldn't go to work, didn't have an income coming in, and it's just been really difficult on people. And the $300 garbage fee, as all of us know, is a significant amount. So if there were people within the last year since the pandemic started that fell behind and couldn't make that payment, I think this at least wipes off the penalties and the interest. So I'll be voting in favor. Anyone else on the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild.
Yeah.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Gaughan.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, file of the council number 49, 2021, amending file of the council number 47, 2000, an ordinance as amended by file of the council number 8, 1999, entitled, an ordinance establishing fees to be imposed for the administration of emergency services by the City of Scranton Fire Department, authorizing the administration and enforcement of said fees, and prescribing penalties for violations by updating the fee schedule contained in section 4 thereof.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance? Tom, are you muted?
I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Gaughan.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, resolution number 114, 2021, authorizing the mayor and other officials of the City of Scranton to enter into a settlement agreement with Christian Garcia Torres.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, I have something on the question. I'm sorry. Of course, I understand all that. We talked about this in caucus last week. I understand the legal ramifications of this, but you know, if a yes vote doesn't feel good to me, then it's a no vote. And this is a personal thing, but you know, this resolution is based on the ordinance that we're changing the language because of language, but we can still implement this ordinance based on other language. And it's clear that the language is the F word. Since last meeting, I spoke to a couple of Hispanic people and they said, that's it. So I didn't have to Google it. They said, that's what it refers to. And I'll give you an example. Say if I retire tomorrow, moved over to Hungary, and the word cookie over in Hungary means male pieces or part, genitalia. I'm not going to open a bakery and call it Mark's Cookies over there, just out of courtesy. So, you know, I know there's freedom of speech and self-expression. I'm all for that. I just want to know where we're going with this moving forward, that we're taking stuff out of our ordinances, and now we'll pick and choose what's offensive. And there'll be an argument all the time. So, like I said, I own my own votes. This is my personal thing, so I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Anyone else on the question? I'm going to be voting yes for this settlement agreement, and for the simple fact that based on the opinion that was presented by Solicitor O'Brien and then the concurrence from Solicitor Hayes, if we don't accept the settlement agreement, if council does not accept it, then we are most likely going to lose the case against the ACLU, which would cost the city a significant amount of money. And the example that was given by Solicitor O'Brien was the case, somewhat similar case between Colts and the ACLU, and they ended up having to shell out close to $400,000. So to me, this comes down to dollars and cents. We're based on everything that I've read, city ends up losing the case. The only people that make out in the end are attorneys from the ACLU. So I'm going to be voting yes. Anyone else on the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
No.
Dr. Rothchild,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Gaughan.
Yes, I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted.
7F, for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for Adoption, Resolution number 115, 2021, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials for the city of Scranton to execute and enter into an agreement with Barry Isett and Associates Incorporated to perform engineering services for the Office of Economic and Community Development.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chair for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7F.
Second.
On the question? Yes, I'd like to make a motion at this time to table agenda item 7F.
Second.
There's been a motion to table agenda item 7F, and there's a second on the question. On the question, I'm making this motion, as I mentioned in caucus, just for further clarification on a few things. Director Cipriani has been very gracious in responding almost immediately to the questions that I posed. I did have a chance to review some of the answers as we were going back and forth this afternoon today, and I just want clarification on 2 or 3 more things before I think we should move forward with this. Anyone else on the question? All those in favor of the motion to table agenda item 7F signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and agenda item 7F is tabled.
8th order, old business, nothing at this time.
If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned. Enjoy the snow shoveling and see everybody next week.
I'm done.
Thanks, everyone.